Hey everyone, name's Ken Ott, the Science Bro, MD, Emerson, class of 2015. Alright, all cards on the table. Yes, I am Bill Nye, the Science Guy's nephew. Does that make me more credible? Yes, it does. Does it matter that I am filming my blog in my dorm? Nope, because it's classy and informative. Besides, my uncle is Bill Nye, so by default I know what I'm talking about. Today's topic is going to be Fragile X syndrome. So, you should know, for starters, that Fragile X also goes by Martin Bell syndrome in some places of the world. Fragile X is the current known cause of autism in individuals affected by it. However, not all people who have Fragile X are diagnosed with autism. 2/3 of males and 1/3 of females with Fragile X are diagnosed with autism. Fragile X currently affects roughly 1 in 4,000 males and 1 in 8,000 females. Fragile X is commonly causes intellectual disabilities such as fidgeting or hyperactivity, including ADD and Tourette-like symptoms. Fragile X patients with autism also show additional symptoms for the autism. Physical symptoms include long and narrow face, large ears, a prominent jaw and forehead, unusually flexible fingers, and enlarged testicles for men. Let's talk about the genetics behind the formation of Fragile X syndrome. Fragile X syndrome begins on the FMR1 gene on the X chromosome. The CGG triplet that repeats there is normally repeated anywhere from 4 to 40 times. However, in patients with Fragile X, the triplet is repeated nearly 200 times. The FMR1 gene is thought to produce a protein involved in the development of synapses, which conduct nerve cells throughout the body, though the official job of the gene is still unknown. People with an excess of repeats sometimes do not show symptoms of Fragile X or have the condition. Though the more repeats there are, the fewer proteins are created, and that is when Fragile X is found in individuals. To demonstrate, let's pretend that this right here is my DNA strand and my FMR1 gene on the X chromosome in particular. It's obviously uncoiled. Here, as you can see, is the first repeat of my CGG triplet repeating itself. However, in patients with Fragile X, the repeat continues and continues until we wind up with something that looks a little more like this. As you can see, this elongated section of the DNA slices the FMR1 gene off during replication, and the protein that this CCG pattern usually creates is no longer created because of the overwhelming repeats. They usually, again, repeat anywhere from 40 to 200 times in patients with Fragile X, whereas mine would have only repeated 40 times. Depending on how long the repeat is, the patient can be classified as a permutation, which means that they are at risk for Fragile X, or the repeat continues and the FMR1 gene is sliced and is classified as a full-out mutation. Patients with a full mutation are diagnosed immediately with Fragile X syndrome. Now, you know the genetics, you know the backstory of it. Now, to help you understand, I'm going to take you into my imagination where a diagnosis and treatment of Fragile X patient will be played out. Enjoy.
Seatbelts, everyone! Please let this be a normal field trip.
Matt, honey, what are we going to do? Has the doctor called back yet?
No, he hasn't returned my call yet. I've been going crazy on WebMD, though, trying to figure it out.
But your results say that our boy has a broken arm.
I know, it makes no sense. Doctor!
You called?
Doctor, it seems like there's something very off about our baby boy.
Yes. Does he have an unusually large head?
Yes.
Is he not learning as quickly as the other children?
Yes.
Is there something slightly unusual about his facial features?
I don't know, it might just be the way he looks.
Well, he could have Fragile X, which leaves us with one option, a PCR test, followed by a southern blot test.
PCR and southern blot test? Whatever do you mean?
Well, first we undergo a PCR test, or a polymerase chain reaction testing, which uses certain primers to amplify the gray zone of the DNA around the FMR1 gene. So, the size of our PCA results shows us how many CGG repeats there are around the gene. The more repeats, the more likely your child has Fragile X. I know what you're thinking. The PCR test doesn't tell us everything. That's why we follow up with the southern blot test. The blot test uses methylon-sensitive restriction enzymes to determine methylated or unmethylated alleles. That way, we can more accurately measure the size of the repeated segments.
options, but they just don't seem right.
Yeah, it's all really confusing, you know?
It is.
Excuse me, I can't help but overhear you saying Fragile X.
Yeah?
Yes.
Do you know that there are drugs you can take to treat H. Fragile X?
There are?
Oh yes, you can take stimulants, antidepressants, and agonists to control the emotional and cognitive problems of Fragile X. And I even deal with these drugs.
That sounds simple enough.
Unfortunately, there are several medications for the different symptoms. Some of the medication is to deal with the side effects of the other treatments, and the kind of medication required, it often depends on what symptoms are shown to begin with. For example, alpha-adrenergic receptor agonists like clonidine and guanfacine are helpful with children with ADHD, but children with sleeping problems would benefit more from clonidine, and guanfacine is both less sedative and longer lasting, and so might be better for children not lacking sleep. Don't worry, it took a little bit of a while for me to understand as well. There might even be side effects for these medications due to some genetic predisposition to obesity and FXS. Stimulants might actually increase the user's weight more than someone who is not lacking in a working FMRP.
I don't want our son to get fat.
Relax, some new treatments for the syndrome, focusing on neurobiological problems, have not caused any such gain. It's been tested on mice. That's more reassuring in my head. I'm pretty sure you don't have to worry about it one way or the other. I can give you these drugs to help your son right off, and I can give you a deal you can't beat. $200.
Okay.
Honey!
Excellent. Here we are, good sir. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to take things back.
Matt, I don't trust these drugs.
But why?
Well, you don't just take drugs from a guy on the street. I mean, for all we know, we could be giving our son crack or something.
You know, there are other treatment options.
Excuse me?
You're interrupting my connection with the spirits. Sorry, I overheard your deal with that drug dealer. You know, there are other things you can do besides giving your son drugs.
Well, that's great and all, but who are you?
Sorry, my name's Jamie. I'm a physical therapist. I help people develop their motor skills who have an illness or disability. I help people with Fragile X improve their posture and balance through exercise.
That sounds reasonable.
It is. And there are also other therapy options you can try. There's speech therapy, which helps the patients learn how to communicate. It helps them pronounce words and talk slower. Then there's behavioral therapy, which teaches them how to cope in stressful situations. And then there's occupational therapy.
Wow, this girl knows her stuff.
I also work in the same building as Ken Ott, the science bro. We do yoga every Sunday.
How convenient. We'd love to have you work with our son.
Hey, I just met you and this is crazy, but here's my number. So call me maybe.